Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the UNspecial podcast. We are a space for parents to come be heard, supported, equipped, and inspired. We're not here to tell you what to do with your child or present the latest therapies and behavior modifications. We are simply here for you. I'm Zack, your host and founder of UNspecial. Just want to clarify before we get going, UNspecial and why I chose the word unspecial. I think there's so many labels going on in the special needs world. I mean, special needs, neurodiverse learners, exceptional learners, unique learners, whatever you want to say. And then on campuses, the special ed classroom kind of gets a weird vibe around it. Typically, they're in the corner of the campus. I thought of UNspecial because I want to take the special out of special ed and just normalize it a little bit. Because if we're honest with ourselves, we all have unique needs. And then there's also a lot of talk on labeling kids with autism or autistic. And I mean, I can see both sides of it. I always like to say an individual with whatever disability, but I've heard from individuals that have autism, they say themselves, I am autistic. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I say it with autism. I think a lot of that was just pounded into us during teaching credential school. I've had some parents, they'll call their kids autistic, and then, okay. Must not be a big deal to some people.
Right.
I don't know. So I think I just naturally will say the with autism. I think just to play it safe too.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think it's if I think the parent has a problem with it, then they'll just say with autism.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal to me.
That's how I see it, and that's kind of how UNspecial came. I just kind of we believe at UNspecial that every child was born with a purpose for a purpose, and has a purpose, and so that's kind of how we see things. We see the individual, not the label. So UNspecial plays into that. But today we have an awesome guest, Ben Valenzuela. He is an educator, former principal, father, husband, and has a special needs nephew. So we're going to get some interesting perspective. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Give us some background. Who are you? What's the day in the life of Ben?
I am been in education for 6 years. I got my credential, my special ed, mild mods credential, and multiple subject credential. Taught in private school for 5 of those years. Started out as an academic support teacher, working with students with various needs, and then moved to Wisconsin for 2 years. And in the first year, the plan was to start a resource program there at the school. Kind of worked, kind of didn't. It was just really just figuring things out. Like every day was just kind of different. Didn't really have the support in creating that like I thought, but there were other needs. I tried to teach biology and PE, and so really just whatever the school needed me to do. And then year 2, the principal had left, and I never thought I'd want to apply to be a principal, but the school needs a principal, and someone's got to do it. So I thought, well, I'll do it. I'll step in. And it was just crazier and wilder than I thought, but a good experience, looking back on it. And then we've since moved back to California, and I'm teaching now at a remote online for a public charter school in San Diego. Special ed. So different things. A lot of different things.
We'll get into that in a little bit. What were your first moments with special ed or unique learners and so forth?
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned I have a nephew who has autism. It's my wife's sister's son, and so that was probably my first experience working with someone, interacting with someone who has autism, who has special needs, and just a really cool kid. A lot of interests. a lot of art and sports, and just a really cool kid to be around. And so that kind of got I think I originally wanted to teach math. I love coaching basketball. So I wanted to be a math teacher and coach basketball and kind of do that role. And then I think being around my nephew, somebody mentioned, hey, why don't you try being an aide? I get some experience in a school. So, I didn't know that there were such thing as aides or a special ed classroom. What would that even look like? So I applied to be an aide, and I got a job at a middle school, public middle school, and it was in a mod severe classroom, right? And so right there, a lot of variety of needs, a lot of variety of behaviors, and so that was I liked it, and then so I thought, okay, well, I think this is what I want to do. I think I want to do special ed. Like, it was just having the kids are different as it is, right, in a classroom, but in that type of setting, the differences are magnified. I mean, they're just, if someone's happy, if someone's sad, they're really sad, like everything. And so just variety of skill levels in terms of what they could do academically or couldn't do, or how they could take care of themselves or not take care of themselves. All that was just really interesting. And so I thought I wanted to do that. And I did pursue my Mod Severe credential. I thought I wanted to teach Mod Severe like in high school. I got a job at an elementary school. It was at an internship at an elementary school in a Mod Severe classroom. Observed a few times and realized, like, no, this isn't for me. Like, I think I liked it as an aide because I can play that support role, and like you as the teacher and kind of lead and guide, and I could feed off that and work with kids where I needed to be. But to be the lead, managing all that, and maybe it would have felt different had it been at maybe a high school or middle school, but at the little kid level, I just knew that it wasn't for me. And so I'm like, okay, I can't do this. So then I got another opportunity to work at a high school. It wasn't in a Mod Severe setting, but I really enjoyed that a lot. I had a lot of fun with that. So I guess to say, I thought I wanted to, that's just kind of every year. Like, I think I want to do something, ends up turning into something different. So yeah, I liked it from the aide perspective, but not quite as a teacher. That's a big job. That's definitely, I think, that's the hardest job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hardest job. That wasn't for me. But
yeah, there's just so much going on. I think my most fun year was when I taught adult transition.
Oh, okay.
And we had Mod Severe all the way to mild. There was like 15 students in the class, and it was adult. So I'm like you. The little kids weren't. I mean, they were fun, but I can only sing like
yes,
Slippery Fish song like so many times before I lose it.
Yeah. And I feel that way, not just with the special ed setting, but like in a gen ed setting.
Oh,
it's fun for a little bit, but there's only so many songs you can sing. Yeah. I feel like you're not yourself sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I felt so awkward. And then you're like dancing in front of the class. This is not for me. With the adult shopping and like going out in the community, and then seeing like the difference between the severe, because we would take all of them, and then the mild, but then the less severe kids, they would kind of help out the other kids. So that's pretty fun to watch.
That's cool.
And then, the little guys, though, they're so squirrely.
Yeah.
And then you're singing the ABCs all day. It's like, but so now you teach online. What's that look like?
Yeah. Yeah, I teach online. So I teach from home over Zoom. I have 10 kids on my caseload. 9 of them I meet over Zoom, and then one of them I'll meet in person. I'm going to start with him, I think, on the 6th. So I'll meet with him in person twice a week. So for most of my kids, it just depends on their minutes. Usually meeting 2 to 3 times a week, and then we're working on just goal thing. So and again, usually they have a reading, writing, and math. So the sessions will be like a reading session, writing session, math session. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, for my family, like it's good, just that flexibility, being home. I do enjoy the instruction aspect, working with kids one-on-one or in two group settings and just really able to hit specific skills with them. Um, I'd say the challenge, I mean, a couple of my kids they just don't show up. And so that part's hard because you can't really do much at my, at a school.
Yeah.
Kid's not there. You can go find them or something or call their parent, or, they got to come to school. And they do have to show up. I just don't know. I'm too new enough to know what all those rules are.
Right.
But I think that's the hard part. A lot of them just don't show, don't log in. But yeah, I've been enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't even know that was an option out there, but there's probably
there's so much.
There's a lot. So then, do they get all their
Yeah.
their accommodations and stuff and modifications?
Yeah, they do. Like I was okay. So I'm as I'm still premium, I'm reading through all the IEPs and I'm seeing a lot of accommodations that work for a traditional school, right? But some of them just don't really make sense. I don't know how they would work for online. Like some I'm thinking of might be can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but yeah, I guess you just want to try and tailor things more towards what they might need in that setting. If they need an accommodation like I don't know, hand over hand support, like that you just got to talk with the parent like, hey, this is I don't know, I don't know how we're going to do that. So yeah, I think those just have to be modified to kind of fit the. I think it's good for some kids, but not for everybody. Not to be online. So I just think the parents just really have to talk through that and figure out that's best for their kid.
Why do you think the parents want the online versus school setting?
I think if I like it, I would like it for my kids, like a little bit. I think getting more of a personalized learning because they're meeting with me and they're only in. I think my biggest group is two kids. Yeah, two kids. So you're really getting one-on-one support in a very specific area. Whatever the goal is, you're working. I'm working like directly to try and meet that goal. So it could be that. Could be, maybe they're struggling socially out of school. In fact, I do know one of my students. There's some issues, there's some challenges. So she, I think, just socially kind of felt better to just do things on her own and not be around other kids. So I think some of that. I don't know. I hate to be negative, but I think a lot of it too could be, parents not getting the challenge of getting their kids to school. Like that part's hard. So that's just easier. It's just easier doing it at home,
Well, I would think they would appeal to the parents that want to be pretty involved also.
Yeah.
So then, do their other resources come into home if they need it? Like, well, I guess it's all mostly mild mod, so OT and physical therapy and stuff.
I think that's all over Zoom, online too. Speech. I have a student that has OT, speech, counseling. I mean, all that stuff.
It's still online
over Zoom.
Wow.
Yeah. So
is this a new thing?
This school has been around since 2019 or 2020, like right before COVID they started. But there's a lot of schools, because then when I applied for this one, I was curious, so what else might be out there? Right. And I was looking mid-school year, and there were a lot of schools. So I'm interested to see how many more of them are, when they're actually hiring.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it got really popular after COVID. Like you said, parents who just want to know more on what's going on, or your parents realized, shoot, my kid can get a whole day's worth of work in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I've been at schools and there's just a lot of wasted time, and it's not and it's not so much I'm seeing the teachers do the best they can, but it's like when you got 30 kids, and you got 5 of them talking over here, and this kid's putting his head down, and it's hard. It's hard to manage that class. And then you have some other students that want to learn, but there's time wasted from the other kids, nodding off, and teacher having to get everybody back on track. Whereas, hey, I can just go at my own pace, get it all done, and then I can do my other activities. So I think there's a lot of that too.
Yeah, I mean that's a good resource for parents to know for sure. I had a guest on a couple episodes ago, and she was kind of she wants to keep the kid home, but she doesn't really know how that looks. And then parents get so many voices on what they should do or shouldn't do, and then I was just like, ultimately you're gonna know what's best. All of this stuff is out there for you to pick. So do you have a good relationship with the parents of your students?
Yeah, I think so. So far, it's still early.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's still real early to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just been like emails or a couple like introduction phone calls and stuff.
Right.
So I've only been working with them for about a month now. But yeah, I say so.
It's pretty mellow. So they tell me about being a teacher and then being a principal and the balance with families, teachers. Like, what was the difference?
Man, so I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I knew going into it, my thinking was I just want to do anything I can to like just support the teachers and just listen to them and hear what they think. Because I had only been at that school for a year, and there had been other teachers that had been there longer. Transition wasn't like an ideal transition with the other principal leaving and stuff. So it was just trying to figure out, okay, what are the things we're doing right? How can we keep doing them? What are the things that you guys think we're not doing right? And what are your ideas for changing them? And so I just tried to be really open. And I think overall that was good. Although, I didn't realize when you are going to be that open, you got to be ready for lots of opinions. And I got lots of teacher opinions. And, we like to,
of course,
share our opinions. We like to complain, right? And so just hear about, just lots of things. And so there was just lots of like, okay, cool, I'll take that into consideration. And some things were very helpful. And some things were like, oh my gosh, come on, seriously, that's what you've been upset about?
Yeah.
It's so, I think for me, I want to please, I want to like do everything I can to make everybody happy. And so just trying to prioritize all these things. I couldn't do all of them. Not all of them were even like that important, or I shouldn't do all, so just being able to tell people like, okay, I hear you. We're not going to do that, or just, and that's it, and so, but that part was hard. It was hard for me because I wanted to solve their problems, but just having to understand, like, you just sometimes you don't have to. You shouldn't be solving the problem. There's no problem. So, I think so I stepped in, just try and listen to a lot of stuff because I was new in administration. My favorite part though was just being there for the kids and working with the kids. And I think with me, I was just more laid back, maybe than like a regular principal. I was also the basketball coach. I just had a different relationship with the kids. It was a very small school too. So I could just have more, I think, a personal relationship with the kids. I really don't think, I think all the kids, I don't think there's many kids that can look and say like, oh yeah, I had a relationship with my principal like I did with Mr. V. I may have done a lot of things right, and I could have done a lot of things better, and not trying to like, say I did a great job. Yeah. But I think a lot of the kids will look back and say like, hey, that principal, that was, that was a different relationship. That was pretty cool. So, it was, it was stressful. I think there were just so many decisions. Everybody wanted a decision to be made. There was always something, whether it was like an event or a discipline problem or just like a classroom issue or a parent thing. I mean, there's just so many, and then bigger school stuff like a fundraising thing or just anything that went wrong, it like eventually would trickle back up to me. So that was hard. And I don't know if I did a great job of like delegating. Again, it's a small school, so there weren't a lot of people. Even when, we didn't have a maintenance person. So if the plumbing got backed up, it was like, yeah, I got, and maybe I can't fix it, but I at least have to call some, like just that takes time. Okay, who do I call? Who do I got to find? They got to come. I got to meet the person. I got to sit there with them. There's things like that. If the phone's died, it's like, okay, so now I got to go down and like talk to Spectrum for an hour. It's like, what am I doing? So stuff like that.
Would you do it again?
Would I do it again?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think I managed just because of the setting. The teachers were super supportive because, again, it wasn't like I was coming in like, yeah, this has been my dream. I'm going to apply and make some changes. It was just like, well, okay, nobody else will step. Like, I guess I'll do it, And so I think the teachers like understood that and at least respected, like, okay, well, he's stepping into it. In fact, I know they did. Loved working with the kids. Loved like discipline stuff. Loved that. I mean, didn't like the things they were doing, but I really did enjoy. So and so, like these two girls are like just bickering, and they've been going back. Okay, let's sit them down. Let me talk. Like, let's talk about this, right? So that type of stuff. Or I don't know, little fifth grade. I mean, it was all ages. I had a pre-K 4-year-old kid in my office, and then I'd have a senior in my office.
Jeez.
Definitely prefer the work with the older kids because you could talk to them. Right. They could realize stuff. But I did like that counseling aspect and just trying to work with the kids and work with the families. I enjoyed that part. It was, I think it had more to do with just that idea of just being like the final say on just kind of everything. If I was just maybe like in a dean of students role, I think that'd be really cool. And then someone who's a principal or something like that.
Yeah.
But
well, it seems like the path, start as an aide, become the teacher, and then if you continue on in the so-called working your way up, you're a program specialist, administrator, principal, superintendent, blah, blah. The more you go up, the farther away from working with students you get. Because I was on the path probably to go on administration, but then I stepped out. But I still had the most fun as an aide. Because you literally just show up, hang out with the kids, and go home. And then you just whatever the teacher wanted you to do, you did it. It just every day was fun, but
and there's almost like a little less of that, like you said, as you go up. Where yes, as an aide, it's like all kids. Then as a teacher, it's like it's all kids, but then you got that work,
and then you got the aides to manage.
Yes, and then as an administrator, it's like there's kids, but then there's so much other just crap, and so, I definitely had a lot more respect for just administrators and things like that. So it was a good experience. It did push me out of my comfort zone quite a bit. Not one to really like to be in front of people and talk and lead really, but I definitely grew a lot during that.
Yeah. So you sat through a handful of IEPs as a teacher and administrator. What's your like overall vibe of parents in these meetings?
So this was my first year in like a public school setting with IEPs. So in August, I got hired at a public like in-person school. And then in end of November is when I quit and took the job as a online. So in this semester, I've sat through a handful, maybe 5 or 6 IEPs. I think all the parents that I had at the first school I was at this semester were very much like, okay, whatever you guys say, that type of thing. They were very agreeable. We were the experts. And not that I feel that way anyway, obviously, but just kind of like there weren't any there were questions, but nothing that questioned like what I put in there or So, and they're very all intelligent parents and good parents. So, but I think, so I don't know. I think just, I mean, I don't know if I just wrote amazing IEPs
Yeah.
or they just, they just trust teachers,
Right.
which is fine. So yeah, no issues. Yeah, all of my parents I had, yeah, were just very, yeah, they were all smooth IEPs.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't had any settings where, any issues like that. I don't know. You have any different experiences in that?
Well, I would say probably the majority, like 80% are like you just described. You get in
Okay.
there, go through everything. They really are trusting in the teacher and the team.
Mhm.
And then I had a handful that just we couldn't do anything right. Like every little thing was kind of like in question. But
Mhm.
I think at some point I realized like there's so much emotion behind it. I mean, you're coming to these meetings and these parents, all they hear all the time is what they need to do with their child. But essentially, like
Sure.
you're telling them how to parent, which if somebody
Yeah.
tells me how to parent, that I not gonna doesn't go well, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but when I finally like stepped back and like thought about it, I really when I had my first kid, it was like all they want is what's best for their kid. So if
Yeah.
I fight them, then it's just going to cause more problems. Like the whole purpose of the IDP is to be a team.
Yeah.
And sometimes I had a few that like had some expectations and wants, and they definitely weren't reasonable. So that was like a fine line on how to go about that. But I was a teacher, so my boss had to deal with it. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Fortunately, mine were pretty smooth. My kids were older, so I was a case manager for 10th graders. So I really just tried to build a good relationship with them,
yeah,
early on. And I think part of that helped too. Like I tried to get to know the kid as well as I possibly
right.
could. Talk to them through their goals, talk to them through about their accommodations. So what it didn't feel like anything was a surprise,
Right.
So I think it's a little. I don't know. It might be a little easier to do that with the older grades than younger grades. But I really just try to
Yeah.
involve them as much as
Well, and
possible.
the thing I saw with the younger grades, because I went to kindergarten, high school, middle school, adult, back to high
Okay.
school. Uh, the early ages is still like everything is so fresh, and then there's still a lot of unknown with parents and families. So those IEPs were a little bit more intense. But as they got older, it was kind of like,
Yeah.
all right, they're maturing now. They've come to terms with like this is kind of the trajectory that the child is
Hmm.
going. So definitely the older ages, those were easier. But the young ages, it's like it's
That
the
was tough.
unknown that's scary.
Yeah.
Um, but
Especially for a first one,
yeah,
maybe.
totally.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
had any students over the years where like you knew that they had like pretty challenging home life, um, and ultimately you couldn't do anything about it? Like,
Mhm. Well, knew I couldn't do anything about it. Um,
like I think I had a few students that
what do you think?
I just knew their home life was subpar, and then they would come to
Hmm.
class and always be dysregulated, and it was coming
Yeah.
from home, and it was just always like, as a teacher, it hurt because I
Yeah.
couldn't do anything other than in the 6 hours I had them, just give them the most amazing experience.
Yeah. I'm thinking about a couple kids at my school in Wisconsin. Um, one of them, I mean, just single mom. Um, yeah, just tough home life, tough, living situation, got into some trouble with the public school, in our school, over this. So yes, in the sense that, yes, I had a kid that had troubling home life. Could I not do anything about it? I see. I tried to do so much more. Like I tried to get him to like live with, come to California and live with us. Like just to get him out, But that, that wasn't gonna be doable. I got 2 kids and everything, and so just that it's hard because I'm really close to that's my basketball player, student, all that, and so yeah, it's hard to see because then you come to school and then dysregulated is, I guess, one, he just had some, even just like health problems, like he had that the doctors couldn't figure out, and for me, I'm like, I'm not a doctor, but I think you got a lot of anxiety, right? Over just things that are going on. So that was hard. I think that was at that school. I got to be pretty close with a couple kids that had some of these different things going on. I had one kid who, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's living in a small town or what. It's different kinds of different interesting issues, but one kid, just ran away from home and didn't want to go back and sleeping all day in class. And so just trying to like talk him through like, hey, dude, you got to go home. It wasn't really, he just didn't want to go home. His parents were being fine. So trying to get him food, get him to take a shower. The kid reeked. So again, another one of my basketball players. So there was a lot of that, a lot of try counseling kids and meet them with their parents. And I don't know. I again, like, I don't like the fact these kids are going through that, but I did like being in that role.
Yeah.
So
you've had a handful of students on your team that had IEPs?
On my basketball team? I think if they're with the public school, I think they would. I think two of them did before they transferred. They had IEPs.
What was that like?
Yeah,
just it's pretty much.
Yeah, it was cool. I think one of them, I never read through it. His mom told me like he has autism. If he did have autism, it was, he was able to be in school and play on a basketball team. If you talk to him, there are some things like socially where he has those, he's not looking you in the eye type of thing, which, it could be that hey, it's autism, or it could just be the way it is, So, but you had to be like extremely literal with him. I couldn't, just whatever I said was like, that's what it was. That's what I said. And he's like, well, you said this. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean, right? No. What do you mean you don't know what so there was a lot of that. And then the other boy, I don't remember what it was for. Probably, I think it's probably ADHD.
Yeah. Do you think, being in the mild mod world, I'm coming from the mod severe world. Mm-hmm. Do you think some individuals are misdiagnosed? Or like nowadays, is there just, it's so broad, like everyone can just throw a diagnosis on it and,
Yeah. I've seen a lot of kids where I think, man, I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see why these services are necessary. You're excelling in school, you're excelling socially. So I just don't know, like, why do we need to do this? So I'm sure there are, maybe it's they get diagnosed at a young age, and as they get older, they figure it out type of thing. And that could be because I'm working with older students, so I see that often. Or maybe it's parents pushing for something, to get extra services. I don't know too, but certainly, I'll see that quite a bit.
Yeah, in my,
do you think?
In my world, it's like pretty obvious. But I did teach a resource class when I was up in Sandpoint teaching, and I don't know. they were all mild mod and they all had an IP. But to me, it just seemed like they were lazy. And then they would
Mm-hmm.
get all these services, but
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I would learn about their home life. I'm like, well, that makes more sense on why he's behaving like that.
Yeah.
But whatever, who knows? Because
Yeah.
autism back in the day, wasn't so wide.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
what? So you have a nephew with autism. How old was he when you met him?
I think he was about 10 years ago. So I'd say about 10.
So he's 20 now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it would have been longer because we've been married 10 years. So I probably met him when he was like 7 or 8. Yeah. But yeah, he's 20
I mean,
or 19. Maybe he's
I've met
turning
him a
20.
couple of
Yeah.
times.
Either way.
We should have him on here. That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
What have you seen with that? Like, what's the family vibe? Like Christmas. What was
Oh man.
Christmas like?
Yeah. When I first met him, he was 7, 8. There were, I think when he was much younger, there were a lot more like behavior tantrums, outburst type of thing. They did a lot of just therapy with him. When I met him, he was kind of coming out of that phase because I saw some tantrums, but not to the extent that I was told that my wife had said or the family had told me. So I didn't. He was he was doing really well. I mean, he would have some different, just different, I don't know, tics, I guess that you said that he would do, or different things that he would say. But he was really, really always just a sweet kid, and you could ask him questions, and he would describe things in his own way. But he would talk with you. And then now, yeah, he communicates pretty well. It definitely like is on his. He will tell you what he's doing or what he's feeling or wants to talk about. You'll talk about what he wants to talk about. So I was trying to ask him like, hey, what are you doing? What'd you do this weekend? And he'll say one word and he'll talk about what he wants to talk about. But he's always like giving me a hug, gives me a kiss. I mean, he's a man now. Real cool kid. And they always had him in different activities, surfing. He played water polo through high school, swimming. I mean, he was always active, or just working out. Like they never let him just kind of be, or just sit behind a screen or something. Like he was always doing something.
That's pretty cool. I mean, he's got a couple of
Art, yeah.
brothers.
2 younger brothers too. Yeah.
That probably
And
helps.
yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
making his life as normal as, or like the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they would always do stuff together. I mean, it was never like, okay, the 2 younger boys are going to come, and it was all 3 boys. They were skating, surfing,
True.
everything. Yeah. So yeah, he was always doing it.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty.
So yeah, cool.
I mean, that's a good approach. I feel like.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of kids in these special ed classes, and they just like they don't look active. They don't look like they've been moving around or building muscle or even just look healthy or eating. Some of the foods that you see in their lunch boxes. You think like this. I had a kid in old school, and he had the old one that was this year, and just some different outbursts. But then you see what he's eating. It's like chicken nuggets, and probably not good chicken nuggets, like probably dino nuggets or, like fruit juices, like a lot of sugary stuff. So there's no, I mean, that affects, like I wouldn't give my kids a soda, or if I give him a soda or ice cream, he bounces off the walls. So you think another kid, and he has behavior challenges. I mean, I think it's only
just
good.
Compounds it. I'm gonna have a guest on in a couple of episodes that's gonna go over what she does with her kid on diet and how how much it's changed everything.
Yeah. I mean, I'm even looking at my own kid. We for a while, because he's been having some tantrums, and for a while we're like, well, you know what? He doesn't eat in the morning. He doesn't want to eat breakfast. So then come like 10 o'clock, he's probably hungry. but he doesn't know like, oh, I'm hungry. He's just mad. He's just
Yeah.
angry. So just been trying to like really be diligent about making sure he's eating something nutritious. 'Cause I think that plays a ton with his behaviors, is whether or not he's eating and eating right.
Right. You got any funny stories? I don't know why, but I just thought of one. I had this like he was a big boy. And he, a lot of these students, like his pants were always just down a little bit. So he had plumber butt going on. And he would always itch his butt and then like go, does it smell? Does it smell? And then one day we were out at lunch and I always had him sit in the middle with all the Gen Ed students. And he like, one of the girls had chicken nuggets, like one of the Gen Ed students, and he loved chicken nuggets. So he went up and he's like, chicken nugget. And then he kind of like bent over and scratched his butt. And then he's like, does it smell? Oh man, the girl's face was like, get this guy out of here. But that's why I appreciate him so much. They just do what they want.
Man, this was as an aide. My friend and I, she was an aide with me, and we always bring this up as like the first month I was there. And one boy, he like just gets up and he leaves, runs out of the classroom. We got to go get him, So I go out. Hey, what are you doing? I gotta go wash my hands. Well, there's a sink in the room. Come wash your hands in here. I gotta go wash my hands in the bathroom. Why do you gotta wash your hands in the bathroom? Because I got poop on my finger. Why do you have poop on your finger? Because it was on my butt. Oh no! And he's showing me his finger.
Like, get out of here!
Go wash your hands. Far away.
Man. What about?
That's funny.
What's your biggest like success story?
I don't know if I have. I guess I'm just thinking of like, as you say that, I can just think of like the different kids that are popping up over the year. I feel like each year I have like two just extra. Like 80% of my time is on two kids, and then the other 20 is on the other 20 kids. So I can just think of like those two kids each year, and just the little growth that we made, and some of those kids I had a couple of years, and then after that second year, it's like it was just such a close relationship, And one of them I've been texting and trying to get together and get and meet up, and so I don't know. I think my success stories is just the relationships with those particular kids and just the little successes, whether it's like that test that we passed, that project that he did really well on, or just so those little things.
That's like me.
Awesome.
I don't know if I have like a moment where I'm like, that was the moment that I've been teaching all this time for, but more just like over the years. Who did you bond with? And then throughout the year to hear from their parents, like, oh, that was his best year ever.
Yeah.
You guys really understood each other. It's kind of like that's what kept it going.
That's cool. Yeah, I love that.
We'll close it out, but interested, what would you say to parents out there going through this journey? Because our whole goal with UNspecial is to rally parents, get them in community with one another, and just go through life together and share their wins, their struggles. Because I experienced parents going about it alone. So we want all parents to know that they have what it takes, and the motto for 2025: just keep going.
Yeah, I think just ask lots of questions. Don't be afraid to question the teacher, or to just whoever it is, the service provider. Ask why. Just ask lots of questions. maybe seek out other parents that have gone through the same situation. Because really it's your kid's future, that's at stake. So I think don't try to find as many resources as you can, and don't be afraid to ask questions, ask the school, just try to be as involved as possible.
Right. That's good. Well, there you have it. A working man coming from different angles of special ed, and definitely a student-focused teacher. So, Ben, thanks for joining us and sharing your thoughts.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching another episode of the UNspecial podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. You can find us at UNspecial LLC on Instagram, unspecialllc.com, and we would love to hear your feedback and have you on the show. Thanks again.